I'm going to teach you one of the discourses which was given by the Supreme Buddha. The name of the sutra or the discourse is in Pali Chula Kamma Vibhanga. In English it says the shorter exposition of action. And there's another name for this particular sutra called Subha. So this is the discourse that I'm going to teach you today. Before that, I would like to give some small advice regarding listening to the Dhamma. So, in the teachings of the Buddha, that the Buddha has admired and appreciated in many ways of learning, benefits of learning the teachings of the Buddha. So when you listen to the Dhamma talks or when you read, what happens is you listen, you learn something that you haven't heard before. Asutang sunati. And second benefit is sutang pariyodapeti, which means whatever you have learned, you can elaborate it further. And kankang vitarati, which means you can clarify the doubts of the teachings that you have. And most importantly, when you learn the teachings of the Buddha, that you can strengthen your right view, how you see things, how you think about a certain situation, that you can do all of these things according to the teachings of the Buddha when you develop the right understanding, when you strengthen your right view. In order to strengthen your right view, what you have to do is, you have to learn the teachings of the Buddha. So we all know that as followers of the Buddha, maybe monks or lay people, all of us are supposed to do one thing, that is to develop our mentality, develop our mind. And if you look at the Buddha, that's what he did. He developed the mentality, developed the mind to the utmost level of the human capacity, human potential. In order to do that, he has to practice a number of virtues. They are called in Pali parami, perfections. Not only short time, that he had to practice these virtues for a long time. And eventually, that he was able to achieve the Supreme Buddhahood. And for us as well, that we have to develop certain qualities, certain virtues in order to develop our mentality. Eliminate all the negative thoughts. One of them that you practice today, that is that you develop gratitude. You remember all your relatives, mother and all the relatives who have passed away. If you don't do these sort of things, nobody says anything. But why you do this, that you know what they have done for you, the sacrifices that they have done for you. And you remember all these dedications that they have done to you. And you do your best to help them. We know as Buddhists, when someone passes away, if he or she has not reached the enlightenment, they're supposed to get a rebirth. Since that we have no idea where they get their rebirth, this is what we can do for them. Practice meritorious deeds, practice dana and other meritorious deeds, and dedicate merits to them. So if they understood proper place that they can accept these merits and they can be happy and prosperous. According to the texts, when you transfer merits, if they are in a proper place, suitable place, they accept the merits and they become prosperous, and in return they bless the relatives who have transferred merits. So having said that, I would like to go to the topic that I have uttered moments before. So the name of the sutra is, or the discourse is, Chula Kamma Vibhanga. Let me know who have heard this discourse before. Okay, no worries. So, in this particular sutra, or the discourse, the Buddha specifically has talked about the karma. One of the deepest teachings of the Buddha is this concept of karma. So, this particular sutra has a background story. And then the Buddha gave this particular talk. So the story is, the Buddha was living in the famous monastery which was called Jetavanarama. So while he was staying in that particular temple, monastery, close by there was a millionaire. His name was Todeya. Right? His name was Todeya. And though he was a millionaire, he was a very stingy person, very miserly, does not perform meritorious deed, does not perform dana or any other meritorious deed. He thought, when we practice dana, what happens is we lose our wealth. So he never practiced dana. And even he criticized the spiritual seekers, maybe monks or any other recluses, that he criticized. He never practiced dana. And he had a son, a youngster. His name was Subha. So, meanwhile, this the millionaire, the Todeya, the stingy person, one day that he passed away. So that we know, the Buddha, he had some special abilities. Says that he had developed his mind when he achieved the Buddhahood, supreme Buddhahood. He was able to gain some specific knowledges. They are called in Pali jnana, special abilities. So he was able to know how beings passed away and how they get their rebirth, where they get their rebirth, and what are the exact reasons for some certain things happen to certain things. So he had a practice that every morning that he looked with one of his special knowledges, abilities, to whom to help today. That was one of his practices. So if there are some people who have developed their virtues up to the level that they can penetrate, they can understand the teachings, the Buddha reached to them and teach the teachings and help them to get the enlightenment. So this particular day that he saw this youngster, the Subha, that he had some potential to understand the teachings of the Buddha. And Buddha came to know that his father was died, the Todeya, and unfortunately this millionaire had become a dog. He was reborn in animal realm. And this youngster, the Subha, that he found this dog. I mean, he took the dog as his pet, and he gave all the luxuries in that his house, and gave the dog all the comfort. So the Buddha knew that if he visits this youngster, he will benefit. He would benefit. So one day morning, the Supreme Buddha visited this palace. So the Buddhist monks, even the Buddha himself, practiced something called going pindapata, going to house for alms, for food. So that particular day, the Buddha went to that millionaire's house. What happened is, the dog came to the Buddha, in front of the Buddha, and started to bark. That's what the dogs do. So then there's something strange happened. Why? The Buddha knew who this dog was before. So what the Buddha said was, he addressed the dog by the name of that millionaire, Todeya. Don't bark at me. You even used to do it before. So, don't bark at me. So then the dog was frightened. And then he just ran away and stayed somewhere. So the youngster was not at the palace at the moment. So then the Buddha left the palace without having any food. So then the youngster Subha returned to the house, and he saw the dog was so sad and not like comfortable like the other days. Then he questions the servants, what happened to this the pet, the beloved pet. Then the servants revealed what happened. They said that what the Buddha said to the dog. So the youngster was so furious. Why? Because the dog was addressed by his father's name, Todeya. So the youngster thought, okay, I should go to the Buddha and blame him. Why did he do such a bad thing, such disrespecting my father? So then he went to the Buddha and asked, why did you do that? Why did you disrespect my father like that? Then he said, okay, is there any treasures that your father has not given to you? Then he said, yes, there are some treasures that the father never revealed. So then the Buddha said, okay, you go back to your house and treat your pet with milk rice. And when the pet fall half asleep, ask him, where's the treasure? Where's the valuable things that you didn't give me? Then this youngster, Subha, he was happy because of two reasons. One is that if this worked, he thought that he could gain those valuable things, treasures. But if this doesn't work, that he can accuse the Buddha as a liar. So he returned home and did the exact same thing what the Buddha asked him. And then the dog went to a specific place in the garden and tried to try to dig it up. Then this youngster thought, okay, there may be something, and then thinking like that he started to dig. And he found something there, some treasures that his father had hidden. Then that he was quite convinced about the Buddha and his knowledge, just because what the Buddha was said was correct. And then he became quite a different person. His thinking, the way of his thinking was changed, and he was quite happy about the Buddha. And even though before that he was not like the Buddha, there was a fame about the Buddha. People were talking about the Buddha, that he was a special human being. So having that in mind, that he thought, okay, that I have to go to the Buddha and talk to him. So he decided to go to meet the Buddha, and he posed a number of questions about the diversity of the human beings. So there are 14 questions that he asked from the Buddha in this particular sutra. So what were the question is that he asked from the Buddha, the Venerable Sir, among the human beings, there's a huge difference, a diversity. There are some people in the world, they die so young, but some people enjoy a very long life. And some people are very sickly, and some people are very healthy. What are the reasons for these things? The diversity of human beings. And then he asks, there are some people are ugly, unpleasant people. And there are some other people, they are very beautiful, very pleasant. And there are some people very influential. And there are some people uninfluential. Then there are some other people who are born in high class or high families, while some other are born in low families. It is explained as like castes, which were present in the Buddha's time, and today even some of the Asian countries. So then he asks again that there are some people who are very poor, extremely poor, while some other people are very rich. And some people are very, very smart, intelligent, but some people are foolish. So what he asks is, why is this difference? Why is this diversity among human beings? So the answer of the Buddha is that he said what I uttered as a topic of this talk. Kammasakata manava satta, which means beings are owners of their karma, or their actions. And they are, relative is their karma, what they have done before. And their refuge is karma. And the main reason of this diversity is karma. So that is what the Buddha gave the answer for this number of questions. Then this youngster, the Subha, he said, Venerable Sir, I did not understand that. He asked, could you explain further? Then the Buddha, one by one, explained the exact reasons for those differences among human beings. So then the first question was, why there are some humans or the beings who live very short life. So the Buddha said, if a man or woman do killings, destroy living beings, and merciless and murderous and bloody-handed. So if when they die, they get their rebirth in lower realms. Lower realms means the bad places where beings are born due to their unwholesome actions. According to the teachings of the Buddha, there are 4 lower realms where beings are born and they face huge suffering there. One of them is that we can witness through our naked eye. Can you tell me, someone? Animal world, animal realm. Why those animals are being born as animals? Because of their unwholesome actions. And there are some other realms, they are called Petha world. It is translated as hungry ghost. And hell, the great hell, Niraya. Like that, there are 4 hells where beings face huge suffering due to their unwholesome actions. So one who practices these killing or destroying living beings, they probably get their rebirth in those bad places. And somehow, if they come to the human world, human state, what happens? They live quite a short life. So that is the answer that the Buddha gave to the first question. Is it clear? Did you understand what I'm trying to explain? So the reason for the short life is simply destroying living beings or killing living beings. Then the second question was, why some people live a longer life? Now you can figure it out. The Buddha said, if there is a man or woman who does not kill living beings, who are merciful, who are compassionate, who are full of loving kindness, who are abstained from killing, after death, they get their rebirth in higher realms. Right? Deva realms. There are a number of divine realms according to the teachings of the Buddha. In number, there are 20 heavenly places. Among them, there are 6 heavenly realms where beings can get their rebirth by practicing simply virtues, like practicing sila, morality, practicing dana, something like that. So that particular person, if he not get his rebirth in heavenly realms, that he can get his rebirth in human realm. And when he comes to the human realm, what happens? He enjoys a long life. His lifespan becomes longer. So that is the answer that the Buddha gave for these first two questions. Reasons for the short life and reason for the longer life. Then the third question. There are some people in the world, they are very sickly. So what is the reason for that? So the Buddha said, if there is a man or woman who torture living beings, practice violence, giving blows, using maybe fist or rods or sticks or weapons, when they hurt other people, hurt living beings. And because of those unwholesome actions, they get their rebirth in the lower realm. And somehow they come to human realm, human world, human state. What happens? They become very sickly. Then some people are very healthy. So what is the reason for that? So then the Buddha said, there are some people who do not harm other living beings. They practice compassion, loving kindness. They don't hurt other people. So that is the reason for healthier life. Right? So then, again, that he questions, there are some people who are very, very ugly. And some people are very beautiful. And what are the reasons? So then the Buddha said, there are some people who are easily get offended and resentful, hostile, get angry. Because of practicing that anger, what happens is, when they passed away, they get their rebirth in the woeful places, lower realms. If they come to the human state, what happens is their appearance become quite ugly. That's the answer that the Buddha gave to him. So what is the reason for having a pleasant appearance, a beautiful appearance? He is opposite of that. He is not getting angry easily. He is not resentful, hostile. He is patient. Because of practicing that type of behavior, whenever he passed away, after the death, he can get his rebirth in heavenly realms, good places. And if they come to the human realm, what happens is they get a pleasant appearance, beautiful appearance. So that was the answer that the Buddha gave. So it makes quite sense, right? So when people get angry, what happens? Their appearance become pleasant or unpleasant? Unpleasant. So that is the answer that the Buddha gave to that. So then there are some people in the world influential and uninfluential. Influential means there are some people who have a lot of people around, a lot of power around, and they can get things easily done. They're called influential people. So, what is the reason for that? The Buddha said there are some people, they are not happy to see the other people's well-being, other people's success. So there's a specific word for that. Do you know that? And some people don't like to see others' success. What is that? Yes, exactly. Jealous. So that's what happens when people practice jealous. They become, after the death, they get their rebirth probably in the bad places. But if they come to the human realm, they become uninfluential because of practicing that jealous or envious behavior. So why then become, people or the humans become influential? It is opposite. They are not practicing, jealous. They're happy to see others' well-being, others' success. There's a specific quality called mudita, appreciative joy, that we have to be able to see other people's well-being, success, and we have to be able to be happy about that. When we see people who are, having all the sensual pleasures, maybe wealth or maybe education, success in whatever they do, that we have to be able to be happy by seeing them. So then, after the death, by practicing those type of behavior, after the death, that beings get their rebirth in heavenly realms. But somehow if they come to the human realm, they become very influential in the society. Then the Buddha said, the Subha youngster again questioned, there are some people in the world who are very, very poor, do not have sufficient, even basic needs to survive. Why? What is the reason behind this? Then the Buddha said, if there is a man or woman who do not practice dana, generosity, giving food and the other essentials to live quite comfortably. So that is the reason to become poor. So the Buddha said because of that behavior, after the death, they get their rebirth in the lower realms. And if somehow they come to the human world, human state, what happens is they become very, very poor. I found some of the quotes some of the famous persons has said. He had said that being born poor is not his or her fault. Living poor is his fault or something like that. But according to this discourse, if someone is being born poor, who is the responsible one? He himself. The reason is, as I mentioned before, because that he has not practiced the dana, generosity. And there are some other discourses that explains that when some people practice, like stealing, robbing others' wealth, so they become, poor. But according to this sutra, this discourse, it says, because of the fact that they have not practiced dana, whenever they come to the human realm, they become very poor. So then there are some people who are rich, extremely rich. So the Buddha said, the reason they practice generosity, dana, well. So when they practice dana, they give the basic needs to maybe recluses, or the monks, or those who practice spirituality, or those who are lack of these basic needs. They give the things to them to live quite comfortably. So what happens after the death? They get their rebirth in heavenly realms. And if they come to the human realm, what happens is they can become easily rich. Right? So, yes, some people work so hard, maybe probably the entire life, but it doesn't work. But for some other people, like they can easily make money. They can very easily become very rich and influential. There are so many examples if you look at the world, right? The people who have become extremely rich very, very easily. So there are some reasons that we don't see, right? We see only things that we do, people do in this life. But there are some hidden reasons that those reasons can be known by the people who develop their mindset, develop their mentality to some certain level, like the Buddhas. So that's how that they can reveal these exact reasons why, what are the reasons for these, the diversity or the differences among the human beings. So then, the youngster, the Subha, he again asks that there are some people who are low-born, low caste, and some people born in high caste. Even today that there are families like royal families. And in ancient India, the caste system was very, strict. There were 4 castes in ancient India, not in ancient India, even today. I happened to read quite recently a book. It was about, have you heard about a person called Ambedkar? He was a very well educated person in India that was born in very low caste, and he was one of the persons who made the Indian constitution. So it says that when he works in his office, there were some clerks that when they hand over the files or documents, they don't give it to his hand, they just throw it to his table, because he was considered as a low-born. He was born to a very low caste. So there are incidents like that. Even though the Buddhism does not appreciate this caste system, but there are these things happen in the world. So the Buddha said, this youngster asked why some people are low-born, while some people are born in high castes. So the Buddha said, a man or woman does not respect those who are worthy of respect. Who are worthy of respect, who deserves our respect? as Buddhists, we can say the number one is a Buddha, right? Then the enlightenment people like Arahantas. Then our parents, then the teachers, the elders, right? We pay respect. So if anybody does not pay respect for those who deserve the respect, those who are worthy of respect, there is something called a bad quality called, in Pali we call mana. It is called conceit. So because of that, they do not respect others. So what happened after the death? They get their rebirth in lower realms. If they come to the human state, they get their rebirth in very, very low caste, because of the fact that does not respect those who deserve the respect. So then he questions again why some people are born in high caste. Then the Buddha said, if a man or woman respects those who are worthy of respect, worship, standing up in the seat when those people come, and showing those gestures of respect. Because of that, after the death, they get their rebirth in heavenly places. And when they come to the human realm, what happens? They get their rebirth in high castes. Then the final two questions. It was about this youngster asked from the Buddha. There are some people who are very stupid, foolish, while some other people are very, very intelligent. What is the reason for that? So then the Buddha said there are some people who goes to the monks or the Brahmins, those who practice spirituality. They question them, what is the good thing, or what are the good things that benefits? What are the bad things that give the consequences, the bad results? What are the things that are going to be helpful for a long time? And what are the things that are not going to be helpful? And the things that are going to be the reasons for suffering. And inquiring these type of things and learn them and practice them. So these are the things that someone should practice, and when they die after the death, they get their rebirth in heavenly realms. And when they come to the human realm, what happens? They become very smart, very intelligent. So those were the answers that the Buddha gave to this young person. What was his name? Subha. His name was Subha. So he posed these 7 pairs of questions. Let's remind once again, what's the first 2 questions? Can you remember them? It is about short life and longer life. So can you remember the reasons? What is the reason for a short life? Killing living beings, destroying living beings. Then the shorter life, the longer life. Couldn't hear. Don't be afraid. refrain from killing, avoiding killing living beings. Then the next pair of questions, what are those? Sickly and healthy, right? So what are the reasons for sickly? I mean, easily getting sick. Hurting people, yes, hurting people, torturing people. Then the healthier life, not doing that, not hurting living beings. Then what are the third pair of questions? Ugly and beautiful. So what are the reasons for become ugly? Anger, practicing anger, right? Getting easily offended and showing the resentment and hostile nature. So then the reason to become beautiful, the opposite, right? So those who want to become beautiful, there are things to do, right? So then the fourth pair of questions, influential and uninfluential. So what are the reasons for being influential and uninfluential? Yes, practicing jealousy, they become very uninfluential. Those who do not practice jealousy, they become influential. Then, what are the fifth pair of questions? Poor and rich. So then, what is the reason to become poor? Not giving, not practicing dana or the generosity. Then, two reasons to become rich, practicing dana, the generosity. Then the sixth pair of questions. Caste, low-born and high-born. So what are the reasons to become low-born? Not practicing, respecting those who deserve the respect. That is the reason for getting a low birth. Then the reasons for high birth. Respect those who deserve the respect. Then the final pair of questions, intelligent and foolish. So, what are the reasons? What are the reasons to become intelligent? Yes, going to those who practice the spirituality and question what are the good things, what are the bad things, what are the things that are going to be helpful, right? Questioning those things and practice them. So when they become humans, they become very smart. And to the reasons become foolish or stupid, not doing that, right? They don't questions and they don't practice them. So those are the answers that the Buddha gave. So then, when I'm saying these things, someone may raise a question, okay, then do everything happens because of the previous karma? Don't you have that question when I'm saying these things? Well, the answer is not everything happens because of karma. Right? Still, the karma is the most influential thing. Right? There are some things that we can't control. Right? For an example, we have become human beings. Right? So when you get to a rebirth, there's something called when you first come to your mother's womb, right? At that moment, according to the teachings of the Buddha, it is decided whether you are a boy or girl, and it is decided even your lifespan as well. Because of a particular karma, you get your rebirth. So those karmas, wholesome karmas, have limited potential. So it is decided. But it changes sometimes. For example, when if you get your rebirth, having ability to live 100 years a longer life. But sometimes it can cut off in the meat. That is called oppressive karma, upapilaka karma. There is something called upaghataka karma, destructive karma. So even though you get your rebirth having the potential to live 100 years long, but some of the bad karmas can come up and cut off. That is called destructive karma, upaghataka karma. And there is something called generative karma. Simply that we get our rebirth when we become humans, and we get our rebirth in good places, happy realms. We have to have good, wholesome karmas, having done in the past. And the generative karma, that they can give rebirth in the woeful or in bad places as well, as I mentioned before. So, yes, the karma is not everything does not happen just because of karma, but karma is most influential factor in our life. So then what is karma? I couldn't explain it in the beginning. What is the karma? How an action become karma? Do all the actions, all the actions have the results? Yes. Intentional actions become the karma. For example, when you drive a vehicle, you hit a man or someone and die. Does it become a karma? No, because you do not have an intention to kill that particular person, because it does not become a bad karma. Because of that, you don't have an intention. So intentional actions become karmas and have the ability to give you the results, either good or the bad, according to the karma. Right? So the intentional actions are the karmas. So then intention, there are good intentions and bad intentions. Right? So when we perform wholesome activities, that there are something called root causes, wholesome root causes. Kusala mula. And there are something called unwholesome root causes. Akusala mula. You know that the Buddhist teachings is based on these cause and conditions. So there are causes that we have to, some of them we have to develop, some of them that we have to cut off, eliminate. So when we develop wholesome root causes, for example, there is something called alobha, non-greed. When you practice dana and all those virtues, you develop non-greed, which is opposite of greed. one of the unwholesome root causes. Or the craving, right? Craving or the desires is one of the unwholesome root causes. So when you are driven by a craving and perform an action, it becomes unwholesome action. When you are driven by a wholesome root cause like non-greed or loving kindness or panya, knowledge or the right understanding, it becomes wholesome karma, which has the ability to give you the good results in return. And if you are driven by unwholesome root causes like craving, then anger, right? Some of the wrong views, so it becomes unwholesome actions. An unwholesome action has some negative results. I mean the bad results that the beings do not like to face. So then, according to these sutras, I mean the discourse, that we can understand to a certain extent how karma works. But it is not the fullest. Right? Once the Buddha said, there are some subjects that you should not try to figure out 100%. One of them is karma. What happens if you try to figure it out like 100%, how it works? You probably go crazy or mad. That's what the Buddha said. Do not try to think or figure out 100%. Right? So it is enough that to understand, okay, good deeds or the wholesome deeds give wholesome results. And unwholesome actions give unwholesome results. And we know how to figure out unwholesome actions and wholesome actions. Right? That is enough to a person to go forward in the Buddhist spiritual path, practice the spirituality. But there are some explanation in Abhidhamma. You can understand quite deeper, but what the advice of the Buddha is that do not try to think too much or try to figure out 100% how karma works. So I think that is enough for the talk today. So anything to clarify more what I've been talking here? Any questions? No questions is a good question. Okay, then I'm going to stop this small Dhamma talk. So today, that you, first of all, that you observe 5 precepts, then attentively and faithfully listen to this Dhamma talk. So I tried my best to explain some of the deepest teachings of the Supreme Buddha. So all of us generated enormous amounts of wholesome thoughts in our hearts. So now let's dedicate, let's share